Welcome to another edition of A Week of Mass Shootings. All right, welcome back. We're going to look at the 15 mass shootings that occurred from the August 14th through August 20th. There were none that occurred on the 14th, so we'll start with August 15th in Clarksville, Tennessee, where 5 people were injured. This was the first one to happen in Clarksville this year, and the last one wasn't. It's gone back a few years to October 3rd of 2020 was the last time they had a mass shooting in Clarksville. And this happened at the Paddock Place Apartments during a standoff with the police. There were people inside a home that were held against their will, and there were 4 officers injured in this shooting. All right, we'll go to August 16th in East St. Louis, Illinois. This is the second one that they've had this year. 1 person was killed and 4 people were injured. And the one injured was 20-year-old Jermaine Bonner. And the neighbors say that shootings just happened in the neighborhood. And that was the best you could get out of that story, was shootings just happen. All right, again on August 16th, we go to Louisville, Kentucky, where 4 people were injured. And this is the 6th one they've had in Louisville this year. And this was at the Russell Apartments, and basically it was an argument that escalated to gunfire, resulting in 4 people being injured. Again, on August 16th in Oklahoma City, 4 people were killed. And this one was a murder, and then the guy killed himself. And this was basically a family domestic violence situation where Ruben armendariz killed himself and I'm assuming it's his wife. It was a female, 29 years old, and his 3 kids that were all under the age of 9. And this was the second in Oklahoma City this year. Okay, again on August 16th. This is the 4th one just on August 16th. Alexandria, Louisiana. 1 was killed and 4 injured, and this was the second one in Alexandria this year. And police just say it's an ongoing investigation. I couldn't really find too much about that one. There were no events on the 17th, but we go to the 18th, and that's Chicago, Illinois, had their 23rd, and 4 people were injured. And there were 2 shooters that fired into a crowd. All 4 that were hit were teens, and it happened just before midnight in the Lawndale neighborhood. And there have been 17 homicides this year already in the North Lawndale. And that's 4.4% of all the homicides this year happening in that one neighborhood. Okay, our second one on the 18th is Norfolk, Virginia, where 4 were injured. This is the first one that they've had this year in Norfolk, but they had 4 last year. And this was just a shooting that happened inside a 7-Eleven. Okay, we go to August 19th. Where we have Philadelphia, where 1 person was killed and 8 were injured, and this is the 15th for Philly this year. And this was a birthday party that there was a large crowd, and there was a shootout in the street, and the victims aged between age 17 and 51, and someone actually had died on this exact same block just 2 days earlier. So it clearly was a bad area and probably not a place that if you live in that area that you want to be going to a large gathering that's outside. All right, again on the 19th, we got Macon, Georgia, where 1 was killed and 3 were injured. And this is the first one this year in Macon, Georgia. They had 3 last year. And this one is considered a shootout at a bootleg bar, which is what they call bootleg bars, is just basically a place that illegally sells alcohol. And it basically was just a large gathering of people outside of a house, and somebody was selling alcohol. So again, on the 19th, in Wilmington, Delaware, 4 people were injured. And this is the first one they had in Wilmington this year. The last one they had was on August 20th of 2022, almost a year to the day. And both of these 2 were just 2 to 3 miles apart. A year apart, but only 2 to 3 miles apart. And it just said 30 shots were fired in this one. Okay, then we go till Milwaukee, Wisconsin, And they had two. They had one on the 19th and one on the 20th. And on the 19th, 9 people were injured. And that was considered a Puerto Rico family festival. That's what they called it. It was a family festival. And that was the 5th one this year. And then on August 20th, 4 people were injured, and that was the 6th one. And both of these happened just blocks away from each other, 24 hours apart. And it didn't say if the two were connected, but a 22-year-old man was arrested in the Sunday night one, the 20th one. Okay, on August 20th, in Seattle, Washington, 3 people were killed and 6 injured. And this is the 3rd one in Seattle this year. And it happened inside a hookah lounge, which this isn't uncommon for these hookah lounges to have shootings. I didn't even know what one was. I had to look up one was, and I asked somebody what one was because I really didn't know what one was. But these happen a lot at these types of places. They happen inside or outside of them. And it's kind of a common place. You know, if you're going to go with common places, it's one as far as bars go anyway. Okay, again on August 20th, we got Louisville, Georgia, where 5 people were injured. And this is the first one they had in Louisville, Georgia this year. And they also had one last year. This one is just considered a drive-by. Another one for August 20th in Minneapolis, Minnesota. 8 people were injured. And this is the 5th mass shooting that they've had this year in Minneapolis. And this is the 2nd one in 10 days. This one had 8 victims. And the August 11th one had 7 victims. And 1 died in that one. And like so many others this week, they both happened within blocks of each other. In this one, police say the shooting was not random, and there were 2 shooters that fled wearing hoodies, and that 41 shell casings were found. And the neighbors said it sounded like a jackhammer was going off. And all the victims in that one were teenagers. In summary, those were all 15 mass shootings from this past week. Milwaukee was the only city with 2. 5 of the cities were reporting their first one this year, and both Philly and Chicago are in the double digits. There were none reported as gang-related, not saying there weren't any of them that were. One was a drive-by, and many didn't really say or just unknown at this time what really happened or why. This is a weekly video, so if you like this type of content, hit that like button, leave your thoughts in the comments, and consider subscribing. And I'll catch you next week.